Welcome to episode 12 of the Unstoppable Podcast. My name is Dan J. Gregory, and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable Podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life? Welcome to episode 12 of the Unstoppable Podcast. This is the first Monday solo session. Welcome. Following the initial 10-part Adventurous Goals series, which I used to kick off the show, we've now entered the next phase of the podcast where I'll be bringing you a new interview every single Thursday and a solo session on Monday where I put together an initial experimental 5-point format for the show in an attempt to bring you as much value as possible during this solo session. So here's a rundown of what I'm proposing for the Monday show. There's 5 things. Number 1 is what I call the Debrief. This section is all about reviewing the takeaways from the previous interview, from the previous Thursday. See, I believe that knowledge is only potential power. Knowledge only becomes power when it's applied. So this section is designed to be a debrief of the previous interview where I'll share my own understanding and insights from the interview and how I'll personally be implementing what I've learned during that session. The second section is called Unstoppable Insights. This is the main focus for the show, and each week I'll be sharing a new insight, strategy, or perspective to help you become unstoppable in business and life. This section will be shaped by you, the Unstoppable Tribe, as I provide answers to some of the questions that are landing in my mailbox every single week. The third section is what I'm calling What's Working Now. This section is inspired by the likes of Gary Vaynerchuk and Pat Flynn, who openly share what's going on in their businesses and what's working well. So I'll be sharing what I am focused on right now and what's going well so that you can model the strategies in your own business. The fourth part of the show is simply the quote of the week. I love a good quote, so I'll be sharing a quote that's either inspired me or something that's relevant to the content of the show for that particular episode. And then the final part of the episode will be called The Challenge. In this final section, I'll be sharing an action or a challenge with you based upon the content of that day's show. Something that you can go away and implement that will make a difference in your own business or your own life to really lock in some of the content from today's episode. So let's dive in straight away into this new format. The first section is the debrief. Last week, we had the absolute pleasure of having Alex Morton on the show. Alex became a 7-figure earner within his business by the age of 24, and he's now earned over $2.5 million by the age of 26. So he's had a really, really successful start to his career. So my top 3 takeaways from the interview with Alex were, firstly, depth of vision. Alex set the vision of becoming a millionaire by the age of 25 whilst he was still at university. And he had no idea how he was going to make it happen. But it really sung true to me that it's really important to think big. And Alex shared the 3 levels of goal setting. 1, the stuff that you know that you can achieve. 2, the stuff that you think you can achieve. And then 3, the stuff that you've got no idea how you're going to achieve. And that was what inspired me. And I'm going to certainly go away and be thinking about my own goals. And already subconsciously since the episode, I've already been thinking about this in terms of how can I think even bigger than I'm thinking right now. I've got some big goals for myself this year, but I want to have one of those goals that just seems such a stretch that I have no idea how I'm going to hit it, but really inspires the heck out of me. The second thing that I took away from the show with Alex was to break down your big picture vision into manageable milestones. This is only a small chunk of the episode, but it really, really stuck with me because in the past I've set these big goals and, when you write down a big goal, and especially based on the previous point, when you do write down a big goal, it can seem a little intimidating. I have no idea how I'm going to hit it, especially operating from that level 3 goal. You're setting a goal that you have no idea how you're going to do it. But if you break it down into manageable milestones, then you're able to see how you can take the steps. So Alex talked about setting the first milestone of hitting $1,000 per month. And then once he'd hit that, he had the belief then he could do $1,000 a day. And if he can do $1,000 a day, then he can eventually do $1,000 per hour. So he had a really clear roadmap in terms of those manageable milestones And that's something that I'm definitely going to apply to my own business when I start looking at my big goals. So I'll go back, revisit my goals for this year, and put some measurables in there that give me real clear, bite-sized milestones to work towards so I can have that sense of progress on a more consistent basis. And then the third part was that absolute unwavering belief. Alex spoke about how belief is everything and how before someone believes in you, you have to believe in yourself. And that absolute wavering belief in yourself will get you what you want in life. I really took away that level of belief that Alex demonstrated on the call. You could really sense it in every part of his response. And he had a real deep sense of inner belief. And I think that's so important. And to be honest, I walked away from the episode thinking I really need to get deep on this stuff. And we'll be exploring this further on today's episode in the Unstoppable Insight section. But the final piece I want to mention, I'm going to have a little sneaky fourth thing here, is what really stood out to me was Alex's sheer enthusiasm. Sheer enthusiasm to me is something that's so powerful. Even if I wasn't listening to the words that Alex was saying, you would have a real sense of his excitement and his belief in what he was doing, just through the tonality in his voice. This natural sense of enthusiasm. And I thought that's so powerful. So I've actually gone as far as saying that my theme for this week is going to be the concept of enthusiasm. For those people who know me closely, they know I'm a very enthusiastic kind of guy, but to switch it on and have it on at that level all the time is something I strive towards. So really inspired by Alex's enthusiasm. I remember John Wooden talking about it, and he says that simply put, you must love everything in which you do, and your heart must be fully in it. Without enthusiasm, you cannot work up to your fullest level of ability and potential. You're just going through the motions. And just going through the motions won't bring you to the level of competitive greatness that many of us seek in our life. So enthusiasm is the thing that rubs off on those around you. It's an essential quality of an entrepreneur and a leader. And the problem is with enthusiasm is people mistake people being extroverted with enthusiasm. I've met so many people who have had deep levels of enthusiasm, but they're still introverted, It's still possible to sound excited and enthusiastic, even if you're speaking quietly. Or you can be radically excited. You can be totally enthused, and it's louder and it's passionate and it's booming. Both are the same. You can still be enthusiastic and excitable. You don't have to be loud and crazy. And people like Alex and I, we're loud, we're bold. That's our character. But it doesn't have to be that way. Enthusiasm doesn't have to be that way for you. But it was something I certainly took away, that level of pure passion, pure enthusiasm. And I thought to myself, if I attacked everything I do with that level of enthusiasm, I'm going to get so much more done. And besides that, I'm going to attract so many more people to me, whether it's podcast listeners or clients with the Unstoppable Entrepreneur or the other parts of my business. That enthusiasm is naturally something that would attract people to you. So that's the final piece that I took away from the show. So what are my 3 actions then to take away? Number 1 is to revisit my vision and goals and set one major dominating goal that excites the heck out of me, but which I've still no idea how yet I will achieve it. The second thing is to chunk down all of my major goals into manageable milestones. I've already broken them down into quarterly chunks and monthly chunks, but I really want to set some clear steps to give me the ability to have those small wins on a more consistent basis and give myself clarity on the steps that I need to take, move towards those even bigger outcomes of 2016. And finally, in terms of belief, I want to check in with myself and rate my level of belief in myself and look for the areas where I might need to reinforce my level of belief in myself or areas where I can actually strengthen even further. On that note, let's move into the next section, the Unstoppable Insight section, where we're going to look at belief more deeply. So what is belief? Well, belief is one step beyond confidence in your ability to do, be, or have something. See, I believe there's a 5-point scale which runs from fear right through to belief. So for many people, they might get stuck in fear, but then fear moves to doubt, and doubt moves to courage. And courage is where you act in spite of fear and doubt. And then from courage, you move to confidence. Confidence is where fear is no longer present. And then the next level up is absolute belief, total belief in your inner self. And what happens is people tend to look at the outer reality, their health, their wealth, their relationships. They look outside of themselves. But the external is simply a reflection of your inner world, your inner thinking. So once you have total inner belief, it's not going to be very long before your outer world reflects that inner belief in yourself. So if you're working on a particular business project and you have total belief in your abilities to deliver it, then you are more likely to succeed in that area. So how do we get that level of belief in yourself? And this is something I've been exploring for some time now, because when I was younger, as you've learned through the podcast so far, I didn't have that level of confidence. I didn't have that level of inner belief. I've had to develop it myself. And one of the processes I've been going through more recently during my journaling sessions in the morning, which I spoke about in the morning routine, episode 10, is a new concept of what I call stream of consciousness journaling. So I'll simply in the morning, I'll write down, "Good morning, DG, what's on your mind?" And I'll allow my brain to simply explore what is in my thoughts, with no direction, no prompts, no specific questions, where previously I had 10, 15 different questions that would direct my thoughts. This is really about extracting what's on my mind. And of course, I naturally think about some of the things I've got coming up in my day, or some of the things I'm worried about, or some of the things that I'm happy about, or what I'm grateful for. I'm used to doing that, so that naturally comes up. But as I've been doing this stream of consciousness process, what's been coming out is some of the things from what I call my shadow self. Your shadow self represents the 4 pillars of your being, through your thoughts, your language, your feelings, and your actions. But your shadow self is where you're not showing up as your full self. It's where you're holding yourself back through those 4 areas. So it might be limited thinking, it might be negative language, it might be less than positive feelings, and it could be procrastination or failing to take the action required to move you forward in your projects and your business. That shadow self is often what stands in the way of having that pure inner unwavering belief that Alex spoke about in the previous episode. So what I've been doing in the stream of consciousness sessions is really extracting some of those things that have been holding me back, looking deep into my inner resistance, any inner conflicts, to really delve into the things that are holding me back. And it's been completely cathartic. Just like doing the 10-part series where I shared some of the fears, doubts, indecisions, etc. that I've been through in my own journey, which became like an exfoliation process. I was bringing all the stuff to the top that needed to come out. As I set bigger goals, I've been going deeper into the things that are potentially holding me back and stopping me from having that deeper level of belief. The second thing is to start your day from strength. When you do that consciousness stream, you might be delving into some of the areas that you need to improve or work on, or some of the areas that are holding you back. It's really important then to move into your strengths and focus on all the things that you're freaking great at. Yes, freaking great. Because we're all freaking great at something. You need to acknowledge what you're good at. It's not being arrogant. It's not being overconfident. It's simply owning who you are and owning your strengths and stepping into your power. And you have to be able to do that before you can step into the world of belief. When you have unwavering, absolute confidence and belief in yourself, it's when you totally own your strengths and your skills. In British people, we suck. We suck at owning our strengths. For some reason, we must have been taught through the ages that it's wrong or inappropriate to be confident in our own abilities. There is nothing wrong with being confident in your own abilities. In fact, it's an imperative. So if you're struggling to see your strengths or own your strengths, take the time out to really figure out. You write a list on a piece of paper. What are your strengths? What are you freaking good at? And there's tons of things. Look at all the small stuff. Look at the big stuff. There's loads of strengths. So what I encourage to develop this belief is to focus on your strengths. Focus on what you're good at. Look for the things that you're freaking great at. Next step, step 3, is affirmations and self-talk. We all have these thought patterns. It can come up. You'll discover it when you do the stream of consciousness and look at the things that are holding you back in your shadow self, all those things that are negative. But we can counteract some of those thought patterns and those language patterns and those feelings by writing a solid set of affirmations that represent the beliefs that you want to have. One of the ones that stood out for me that Alex lives by is that he believes that he's God's highest form of creation, capable of anything. Imagine that was your rock solid belief, and you live by that you are God's highest form of creation, capable of anything. I don't care what your spiritual beliefs are, your religious beliefs, but if you believe that you're the highest form of creation, no matter what your spiritual belief, and that you're capable of anything, and that was your guiding belief. So how do you think you'll face the day differently versus if you had some limiting beliefs about what's possible for your life? So you can write a set of statements that reinforce the beliefs that you want to hold about yourself that will help support you achieve your goals and develop that level of confidence that you need. And if you're stuck, you don't know where to start when it comes to writing out a set of affirmations, go online. You can type in beliefs of successful people, affirmations of successful people. Shoot me a line, I'll send you mine. In fact, I'll put them in the show notes, some of the new ones I've been holding. But if you can come up with a whole list that you can read every single morning, that'll get you on a really solid footing. I would encourage you to come up with 1, 2, 3 that really stand out. A maximum of 3 that really stand out to you. And when you say those beliefs, when you go into those affirmations, they really trigger the thoughts, the feelings, and it gets you ready for action. It really gets you in the state of power and confidence and total belief. Number 4 is to stop comparing yourself to others. The quickest way to destroy your belief is to look at someone who already has or is doing more than you're doing. The challenge for most people is we wake up in the mornings, they switch on Facebook and they see all these posts from other people who are doing better than they are, and they start comparing themselves. And what that does is instantly dent your own belief. Forget what other people are doing. The only competition is with yourself. I remember there's this famous quote, Michael Jordan, the only person he was in competition with was himself, constantly trying to improve his own score. So don't compare yourself to others. It's the fastest way to knock your own confidence. Unless you're looking to people for inspiration and you're consciously doing that, don't compare yourself to other people. Step 5, take massive action. By taking action, you're reinforcing the inner belief that you've been creating. We talked about your outer world reflecting your inner world. Once you've gone to work on your inner self, on the 4 pillars of your being, your thoughts, your language, your feelings, and your actions, and you're now speaking positive affirmations, and you've got that deeper level of belief and confidence, now it's time to take massive action, because what the massive action will do will reinforce all that inner work. And every step you take forward will give you even more belief. And act fearlessly, because you learn more from losing than you do from winning. It's your failures that will teach you bigger lessons than your victories. So fail fast. Go out there, take massive action. If you take huge action knowing that you're going to learn, no matter what you do, there's no such thing as failure. Take those massive steps and it will help reinforce your belief and build real confidence in your abilities. Before we move into the next section, here's a roundup of what's working well right now. So the first thing that's working really well is this podcast. At the moment, I'm only promoting it organically, which means I'm sharing it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm getting a lot of traffic from Instagram and Facebook. No, there's no paid ads at the minute. There's no external advertising. So the podcast is going really, really well. So if you've got any questions about what it takes to set up your own podcast, how to get started, how to get listed on iTunes, how to get ranked in the new and noteworthy section, which I'm really privileged and honored to have been listed upon, then shoot me a line and I'll answer your questions. The second thing that's coming up for me right now is I'm developing a webinar, deep in the creation mode right now, which is about how to add $20,000 to your business in the next 7 days by launching your own signature program. Now, the purpose of this webinar is I'm actually going to walk through the launch sequence that I'm going to go through myself. You're going to take a peek behind the curtain and see exactly how I'm going to launch my own high-ticket program so you can replicate the strategies as I'm doing them live. And the third thing that I've introduced, again inspired by Alex's episode, is I'm re-entering the world of network marketing. I've been involved in that industry for a number of years, but it's fallen by the wayside. I've always been a happy and satisfied customer within that industry. But Alex's story inspired me, and I've got a future guest coming up who's also in the same industry, another 7-figure earner. Really inspiring stories. So I'm going to go back into the world of network marketing. In fact, on the back of Alex's episode, I went to my company conference and had 2 days of inspiring stories. So I'll be working full-time on my legacy through the podcast and through the programs and events that I currently produce through the Unstoppable brand. But I'm going to be working part-time on my fortune, adding an additional income stream through network marketing. I'm really excited about building a large team in that space. Next up is the quote of the week. Belief triggers the power to do. Belief triggers the power to do. That's what we've been focusing on all throughout this episode. This quote is from David J. Schwartz, the author of Magic of Thinking Big, which is a great book and I highly recommend it. Now, finally, the last section, the challenge. What I challenge you to do in this episode is to try out your own stream of consciousness journal. Start by writing the following statement at the top of your journal. Dear self, what is on my mind right now? And just allow yourself to go with the flow and notice what's coming up for you. Don't consciously direct it. Don't ask questions. Just see what your unconscious mind is thinking and allow yourself to go with the flow. Mental blocks or challenges or struggles will naturally come up through that process. So take the time to delve in and investigate and see what comes up in terms of what's holding you back from experiencing the truest levels, the deepest levels of belief in yourself. That's it for today's show. I'd love to hear your feedback on the structure, the format, and all the different sections that we went through today. So please do head over to the blog, unstoppablepodcast.com, and give me your feedback. Coming up on the next show, we have Jake Ducey, who at 24 is a 2-time published author with Penguin and Random House, a leading speaker of his generation who's already inspired countless thousands of people to seek meaningful business and career success. He's making a huge difference in the world, and on our show, we'll be exploring the power of intention, world travel, and how to make a difference by finding your path. Really looking forward to the next episode. Please remember to subscribe on iTunes to make sure that you receive each episode as it becomes live, and share this episode with other people. Thanks for listening. Stay unstoppable. Until next time, ciao for now.